I don't think the school restrictions are going to lift anytime soon. I know there's a lot of lobbying that's going on, but I just don't think that they're going to lift. So I hope this is becoming a new normal for you. I hope you're feeling far more, even with Shireen, even if you haven't done anything, as long as it feels like there's peace in your home. I think that's where I'm longing for, is to see something of value come out of your homes, not just the worksheets. I don't think honestly, I don't think the worksheets are as important as the peace in your home, and how our children come out of this, the confidence that they have. So I've listened to a couple of things on the internet. I've listened to a Sowetan talk on education, homeschooling at home, by educational psychologists, and I don't even know what the other ladies were. And actually the thing that they're speaking about is lessen the anxiety in your home. And that's from the Sowetan. They're not Christians, they don't care. And they're saying that children will not learn unless they are at peace. So if an educational psychologist is saying that, some random woman from Wits University is saying that, we're more than halfway there, because that's what we've been saying for the last couple of weeks. Get peace in your home, get to know your kids, make it so that your home is a wonderful place again. So I think that, and also Jackie McGovern, I mean, she spoke on Monday last week, and it was really, really fascinating, really interesting. It was great. She's speaking again this week, Monday at 4 p.m. Get on to Jackie McGovern. Get onto her Facebook page. It's a live thing. You can get onto it if you can't make it at 4 p.m. because I know that some people are inundated with work still at 4. Just go onto her first Facebook page, Jackie McGovern, M-U-N, little hyphen, Gavin, G-A-V-I-N. Get onto her Facebook page. Pardon?
Just want to throw in here quickly. She recommended an app for preschoolers, which I have downloaded this week for Joel, who's 2, and we tried it out this morning. It's really cool. It's called, what is it called? Khan Academy. It's a free app, and it lets the children progress at their own rate. So I'm not a huge fan of screen time, but let's just all face the fact that sometimes we just need it for our sanity, and at least he's learning something while he's doing it.
What's it called?
Khan Academy, K-A-H-N.
It's a brilliant app, and it actually takes you all the way up to matric.
Oh, perfect.
I think your children will go back to school before they reach matric. I hope. Yeah, it's great. I even went onto it. I'm registered as Andy Clark as a preschooler, age 4 to 7 or something, 4 to 6. I'm doing all the activities and everything. So I tried it out. I thought, let me see what it's like, and it really is good. It's interactive, it's quick, it's fun. So get your kids on it. So Shireen, put your kids on it. Just even if they do it for 20 minutes. How long did Joel stay on it for?
I don't know. I left and went for a walk.
Oh dear. So I've got one piece of advice for you today, and then I'm going to hand over to Darleen because I think she's got something more worthwhile to say than I have. Is one of the pieces of advice that Jackie gave right long ago is, and it's so easy. Have you got your notebooks? Have you got your pens out? You got your pens out? Write this down. Say yes sometimes. Just say yes to your kids sometimes. You know, they're so full of, no, don't do this, no more screen time, no, don't do this, don't do that, you can't go out, you can't go out after 9 o'clock. I hope you're all enjoying the 6 to 9 freedom time. Use that freedom time with your children. Take them with you. Take them out. It is wonderful. I go out, not every day, but I go out most days, and it is it feels like when I was growing up as a kid, but when I was growing up as a kid, my mom wasn't with me. We could have the streets and we could play in them. But it feels like that. It feels like family outings. The kids are on the street. I saw a young girl today with rollerblades on. She was in the middle of the street dancing and she had her earphones on. She was having a whale of a time. The kids are riding their bikes, skateboarding. It is absolutely fantastic. Get your kids outside. Do yourself a favor and just make some time and get them out there. It is great for them. It's great for you. And it feels like a different world. And it's great. So take them outside. So I am going to hand over to Darleen. I asked Darleen to come, and you know, she is She's taught in a school. She's taught her son homeschooling. She's teaching at the moment into various primary schools and high schools. No, high schools. And high schools, local communities. So it's not an easy job. It's not going into a lovely, cushy private school. It's going into hectic government schools where there's X number of children in the class. You can't even count them. There's so many. So she's got some great experience. But one of the things that I've asked her to speak on today specifically, because she could probably go for a week telling us all about what you know. I've asked her just to keep it at 30 minutes, just 20 minutes actually, so that you can go as well and you've got to cook dinner and look after children. But she does a thing on learning styles. And so I've asked her, because now we're settling down in our homes and we're starting to look at our children, we're starting to listen to them, we're starting to see them for who they are. If you've gone back to the notes, go back to the previous ones if you want to know what we've been talking about. And I think it's time that we had some hooks to hang on what we see in our children. And I think Darleen has got some info that can help us now really take what we know about our children and do something with it. So Darleen, it is over to you. I'm going to mute my mic and it's over to you, and you carry on. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I had a brief conversation with her at 2:00 saying, what are you going to say? What are you going to say? And I learned some stuff in that brief conversation of 5 or 10 minutes. So I think that you're in for a treat this afternoon. So Darleen, it's over to you, my sweet, my darling.
Thank you. Oh, she called me darling. I got it, Amy. You didn't. So thanks so much, Andy, for having me here. It's just, I'm so excited. I think if we can share as moms what we've learned and how we've grown, that's how I learned and I grew. And it's just one of those things that are passed down. But let me just start off with this. Yeah, first of all, just thanks for this platform. I think that it's an amazing opportunity. It's a small group. I think it's going to grow. But even just whoever's on this platform, if you can take away 1 or 2 things each time you're on this, it will be amazing, because you can help other moms with it, even if you know the stuff that's going to be spoken about. So I just wanted to ask you, what's your favorite pudding? Anybody, give a shout out. What's your favorite pudding? Unmute yourselves and shout out.
Anything with chocolate.
Chocolate.
Malva pudding.
Malva pudding. Andy.
I'm not
Lemon
allowed.
meringue pie. I want lemon meringue pie now.
Lemon meringue pie, pecan pie, somebody said.
I would agree with the chocolates. Anything slathered in chocolate is great.
Okay. But each pudding, it's a pudding, because we know that it's a pudding, but each pudding has got different ingredients, and they all look different, and they taste different, and there's a different texture, and there's a different flavor for each one. So you'll put maybe flour and sugar and eggs and maybe some flavoring, but the amount of flour, the amount of sugar, the amount of eggs, the different flavoring, maybe there's all sorts of things you can add, some like fruit in their puddings. So it's still a pudding, different amounts, different flavors. So I want to ask you, what is your pudding made of? What are your little puddings at home made of? Your
Chocolate.
kids. Your pudding. I know you've got chocolate babies. You are chocolate. But there's a lot of cream babies here too, and caramel and everything. But what are your puddings like? Your little kids. What are their ingredients? What is inside of them? Because they're all kids, but they've got such different, unique ingredients and different looks, different feels, different tastes. But when you look at them, they're still a kid. They're still a pudding. And so that's basically what learning styles is. Learning styles is not just one thing. It's actually looking at the child as a whole. And so often there are the most amazing assessments and instruments and apps and all sorts of things that help us with our kids. But sometimes those just focus on one aspect, which is wonderful. Look who's behind me. There's Donnie standing behind me. Just, I don't know if he knows you can be seen.
Really
creepy.
It is creepy, hey? It's like, I've got to stalk her.
I'll send him a message and tell him to go away.
Yeah. The blinds. So what was I saying? Where was I?
You were saying that each child is different.
Yes, so they've got different learning styles.
There's lots of things on the internet, but
yes,
they
and
focus on.
Yes, a lot of them just focus on one thing. They'll look at the talents or the gifts or this or that. But what we've looked at is over 33 years internationally, literally from Hong Kong to China to the Philippines to the USA to Brazil to Canada to Africa, all over. And there's the same ingredients. We'll all use flour, we'll all use flavorant, we'll all use eggs, but it's different ways that you put things together. And that's what learning styles is about, is understanding your pudding. And so today I thought we look at 5 different ingredients that make up the whole for your pudding. But I just want to touch on a few things. I'm not giving a teaching now, but I just want, as such, but I just want to touch on a few of those areas. So first of all, I just wanted to say that with myself, my son, when I was, he was in grade 2, and the teacher came back to us and said, your son's struggling. I said, with what? He's my firstborn. I've been pouring into his life. And she said, he's struggling to read. He's 9 months behind in reading. And I said, what? He can't be 9 months behind. I sit with him every single night, and my husband sits with him. And she said, but when he has to do tests, if the teacher did it verbally with him, he got in the 90s. He could just answer like this. But the minute he had to take that pen and paper and write it down, he would fail. And she said he needs remedial help. And where we were at that stage, there wasn't remedial help. So that started a whole journey, because I had a son who was struggling. And then my little other pudding, my chocolate pudding Hannah, she was just thriving at school and just running with the competition and just doing so well. So we ended up going to an educational psychologist, and you know where that went. You know, oh no, he's got an exceptionally high IQ, but you know, he is ADD, and and it went through this whole thing, and we were like reeling, and I'm going, how do I even help my son? You're telling me something about my son. I don't know what he's like in the classroom. And out of that, we made a decision to homeschool for a while to help him to catch up. And so at that stage, I wasn't a qualified teacher. I was an art teacher, but I wasn't qualified to teach grade 3. And so I was just a little bit thrown with that. But I decided I would in any way push through. And I started my journey. And the first 2 weeks was wonderful. It was just the first 2 weeks. And then after that, I hit a wall, and it was terrible. We fought, we argued, and everything. And I phoned a friend of mine who was homeschooling 5 kids. And I said to her, help. I was in tears. I said, please help me. I don't know how to do this. Because I was also working at the same time. I was teaching art, and we were running some babies' homes, and we were leading a church, and we were involved in a whole lot of stuff. And I was throwing up all these balls, and I was finished. I didn't know how to handle it. And she said, come over. And I found there was such peace, just like Andy said, there was peace in her home. And all the kids were doing different things, but it was peaceful. And that started my journey, where she told me she'd had her kids assessed, and I had Johanna assessed with this international instrument. And it was like my eyes were opened in our family. And I had myself assessed, and Darleen and Hannah, and it was amazing. But what it did, it was all about learning styles. And I discovered he was very creative and very musical, and he had lots of questions. And so I started learning how to work with this. And I homeschooled him until grade 6, just before grade 6. Then he went back to school, and then he did and then from grade 9 onwards, we homeschooled again. And so over these years, it was quite a journey that I had. And so I had these two, sorry, I just made a few notes so I stay to the time to honor Andy here and to honor you all. I discovered that I had these two puddings that were so very different. And to try and look after two puddings in one house, I'm sure many of you know that. Some of you have got 3 puddings, all right? Some of you have got 4 puddings. And I know that Anza calls them her minions. And I think the one minion's got an eye here and the other minion's got 2 eyes here because they're always all over the place. They're so gorgeous. And so I had to learn what these ingredients were. And we look at 5 different ingredients. I'm not going to go through all of those today. I'm just going to bounce some areas off you and say, do you recognize some of these things in your kiddies, and help you to recognize them and help you to observe your children, not just do what you go normally back to. So often we're not teachers, but we know we were taught. Sit up straight, sit behind your desk. So I'd like to ask you all now, wherever you're sitting, and please sit up straight. Coletta, sit up. Lucy, sit up straight, back straight. I don't know what you're doing, Shireen, the both of you, but sit up, and whoever else is on Bochabella right now. Sit up. Andy, stop leaning on your chin. Andy, stop it. Sit up straight. Okay, now you're going to sit like that for the next 20 minutes, please. Keep your back straight. Feet in front of you. And please, when I'm talking, none of this, okay? Don't eat or chomp or anything. I want you to listen very carefully. Are you all listening? This is what we do to our kids, isn't it? We really try sometimes, not all of us, but yeah, but we often, we take how we were taught at school, and I know even Andy teaches this with her teachers, and that we need to be more creative. Let's face it, our first 2 years at school, 3 years, were all exciting. And then after that, it was downhill. It's like, I'm going to school again. Why? It should be the most exciting years of our lives, learning. And so I want to encourage you as moms at home that in your environment, even if you're juggling work and you're juggling home and you're juggling food and cleaning and kids and all that, you can chat with Amy, you can chat with Andy and the other moms how to get routine. But I'm asking you to start recognizing that your puddings are different. And how can you help them in discovering who they are in their learning process? So who's got a kid maybe who asks a lot of questions? Why? 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 Wave your hand if your kid asks lots of whys. Okay, and it doesn't matter what you say, it's why. Okay? And sometimes that gets really irritating because I said so, that's why. All right? Maybe they're messy and they lose track of time and they love inventing things and working with their hands and fiddling. Ah, yes, and they like doing all these sorts of things. Well, that's actually a personality type that you can work with. And if you understand those areas, it's quite amazing. Maybe your kid rather likes structure or routine. Some kids do. They don't like to go out of routine. You're probably saying I would dream of a kid for routine. But it's just some of them just love routine. And don't take me outside of what you've told me, Mom, I'm going to do this and this and this. Why are you saying we're going shopping now? Why do you say I have to go and sleep now? Because your phone rang. Why? No, there must be routine. They feel comfortable in that. And they get crabby if there's changes. And then you get kids who've got like, when you're talking and it's like this, hello, blank look, hey? And they wander off the window, but they'll tell you the most imaginative stories, and they'll be creative, and they'll be all over the place. Or are you recognizing some of these things in your children? Sometimes you've got children who are spontaneous, and they just want to perform, and they're loud, and they move, and they've got a short attention span, and they change their plans all over the place. Or otherwise, you've got other kids who are very sensitive, and they talk nonstop, but they're sensitive to people, and they've got no sense of time if they are playing. So there's all sorts of different personality types that we deal with. And if we start to recognize those things and understand them and understand what their needs are, we can begin to feed those needs and work with them in the needs. We've also got another area called modalities. And our modalities, it's just a big word for saying, how do you process information, incoming information? So I'm going to do something with you all right now. Can you please all go? Point your eyes and go visual. Say it out aloud. Visual. Visual. Oh, you all sound so boring over here. You're very dull and you expect your kids to be happy. Okay, visual. Now go auditory. Okay, say it. Auditory. Okay.
Auditory.
Yeah. And then I want you to go touch, move, do.
What?
But move, do.
Touch, move, do.
Do.
Touch, move, do. Touch, move, do.
There we are. You got it, doll. Thank you. You got it. Thank you. So that is our modalities. And we need to recognize these in our children. Are they more visual learners? Are they more auditory learners? Do they maybe like talking to themselves when they're reading or they're playing? Don't tell them to keep quiet when they read if they need to hear their voice. Are they maybe more visual? They love pictures. Or they like to read rather. Mommy, let me show you. Or maybe they're more tactile kinesthetic. That's your touch, move, do. They need to act out a lesson. Or they need to draw a lesson. Or they need to touch and fiddle to build a model. These are the ways that you can help your child to learn. If you start to recognize them, start to observe your children, how do they process? Then don't force them to process the way that you process. If you are a processor who likes reading and you feel that they should be reading by this stage, or you've got very littlies and you want them to process in a certain way and they're not getting it, maybe you're the adult who need to actually change your way of looking and say, I'm not going to force it on them the way I am. I'm going to actually see how can I help them. And you'll see these little lights come on. It's like, ding. It's the most delightful thing when you see the lights come on in a child's eyes and they suddenly get something. Quick example, my son couldn't do the 3 times table. We did everything. I even did hopscotch with him. I did it up all over the house. He couldn't get it. One day it was like, ka-ching. I got a piece of wood, hammered it in 3 nails, gave him the hammer. I said, hammer in another 3. Did. I said, how many 3s? He said 6. I said, hammer in another 3. He said, how many 3s? He said, 9. So I said, so how many? He says, 3. 3 3s and 9. I said, okay. We did again. And by the time he got to 5 3s, he went, there's 5 3s, Mom. It's 15. And I went, and then he went, I know my 3 times table. Simple. Just little ways of doing things. So that's your modalities. And then the last area I just want to quickly touch on is, I trust that this gives you a little bit of handles to have a look at and observe in your children. Then there's environmental influences. No, not what your house looks like. It's not about that. Your environmental influences are the things that influence you when you're learning. So Johan battled, Hannah didn't. Hannah would sit behind a desk. Johan would battle for 2.5 hours to do his homework when he was at school. It drove me absolutely nuts. It was constant fight. Then once I had started studying and training and that with this, I realized, I said, how would you like to learn? He said, Mom, please can I lie on my stomach on the floor? And everything inside of me went, okay. And I let him lie. I kid you not, 1 hour. 1 hour and he was done with learning. And yes, he was lying like this and writing like this. But what's the aim of learning? What's the aim of learning? The aim of learning is to learn, not how you get there. I want to go to Cape Town. I can go train, bus, taxi, car, bicycle. I can walk. It'll take me ages. Whatever it is, all different ways. And even the airplane, I can take different airplanes. BA, SAA has died. But whatever it may be, but I'm going to the same place. Our end goal is for the kids to learn. How they get there, that's how to help them, how to train them along the way. Maybe they like music. Maybe they like doing things, they like eating while they are learning. And you go, no, wait until it's break time. And then you go, wait, that's why I said to you, sit up and keep straight and no drinking. You know what? We say, no, you can't drink now, wait with your juice, you're going to spill, and then you go, and you watch them. And they look and they think, you've got a bottle in your hand, and you're telling me, it's like the teachers at school, wait until break time, and then they take their bottle off their desk. And we do this subconsciously. So it's just, I'm asking you to start recognizing these little areas with your children. Maybe they love to be quiet, or they love people around them. Maybe they like to sit by a window with natural lighting. Or they say, Mommy, please put the lights on, it's dark in here. And you go, no, man, you don't want to waste electricity. Maybe they need bright lights. Listen to what they're asking for. What is your unique pudding's unique ingredients and mixture? So I hope that this gives just a little bit of tools. And can I please ask, I think one of the biggest things we ask when we're helping mommies is to say, and we work with we actually work with from age 4 all the way up to matric. And the oldest I've assessed was my father. He was 74. So this we work with. Learning styles is a lifelong learning. And don't try and make jelly and custard. Don't try and make that into a fruitcake or a lemon meringue, because it's just not going to work. It's a totally different ingredient. And just because you like jelly and custard doesn't mean that they like jelly and custard. So observe and get to know your child and write those things down. Maybe keep a journal each day and then start saying, maybe there's some adjustments I need to make as the adult. I'm not saying let them run wild. I'm not saying stop the boundaries. They need boundaries. Definitely need boundaries. But I'm saying let's look at who are these little blessings that we've been given to mold and to shape for the future without frustration and without telling stories one day that they hated their mother at home, but rather we sat and did school under the table the one day, and my mom sat with me under the table, and we made a tent and we learned in the tent. How cool. How cool. So have fun. You have fun even while you're working. Have fun with your kids and let them love learning. Thanks, Andy. I hope that gives a little bit of something.
Okay, so you've got personality, you've got modality, and you've got the environmental influences.
Yes.
So each child will learn in a different way. So what are some of your personality types that you can get?
Okay, so there's also 2 other things. Let me just add on to the 3 that we've got. The other 3, I'll just add them on. I'm not telling you about them now. The one is our interests, which are the things that motivate us the most. And then the other one is our talents. We have 12 sets of talents. And those also are areas where we need to recognize in our children. But in terms of some of the personalities, those were I was giving some clues when I was mentioning some of the things. So you've got your child that asks lots of questions, like your curious type child. Okay? Very messy and inventive. You have another child who's very organized. You'll have another child who's extremely imaginative and creative and all over the place and messy and forgets the time and daydreams, but will tell you the most amazing stories and can make up stories. And it's very colorful. They might even be very musical and creative. And then you've got your other child that's a very spontaneous child and competitive. That kid that they will, even if it means beating up their brother or sister, they will walk over them to win a game. And they will make sure that everybody hears them, and they're loud, and they want people to notice them. And they've got a short attention span, and they like to move. They rock on their chairs, and they swing, you know this part, eh? And they fiddle, or they'll rock like this all the time. Or otherwise, it's when it's the tapping all the time.
So then my child is like that. Do I leave him? and let him learn like that? Or do I try and manage that personality that is irritating the other children and myself? What do I do with that?
It's a brilliant question, Andy. We deal with this with teachers. We're working with teachers at the moment out in some of the rural communities who've got 56 to 60 students in a class. And every single child is a different pudding with a different ingredient. And you'll have some rocking on chairs and doing all those things like you said. So the thing is to recognize what the child is like and hone them in. So for example, your child that's tapping like this, you know, all the time, you say to them, you recognize they need to move, or they're rocking on their chair, or they're spinning. You recognize that they need to move. Your minions, they need to jump all the time. Give them a skipping rope and let them learn things, or put them on one of the mini trampolines, because I know Anza's kids really well, and they run all over, but they're so clever, okay? But at the same time, they do need to learn to sit calmly. So give them something. If you put them on a chair and you expect them to sit on a chair, get a big elastic band and put it around the legs of the chair at the bottom. Then tell them, put your feet into the band and fiddle with it like this, between the band. So their body's moving, but you'll see their focus will be on you. And you're going to have to try and pass this, but train them that actually when you go back into school, my darling, you're going to irritate the teacher. So rather, if you're going to do this, take your pen and do it under the table. Or give them a piece of press stick to play with in their pocket, not in their pocket, but in their hands below the table. So it's a brilliant question, Andy. The child who asks why often gets shut down eventually because the teachers get so frustrated. So if your child is asking why all the time, why don't you put up a board and call it your parking lot and let them draw cars on it and say, okay, here's your car. It's a nice big pink car or a blue car. What do you really want to know? No, I want to know why. You keep on telling me that I don't know what it may be, you know, that the moon is there all the time, but I can't see it, or whatever the question may be. So say to them, draw the moon, stick it up on the board, and when we finish doing school today, you and I are going to have a look on the internet, or we're going to sit and talk about it. Or we'll go and lie on our backs tonight and look at the stars, and I'll tell you all about it. So you're parking the question. It's a parking lot. You're parking the question. You're not ignoring the question. So they know, oh, it's going to be answered. Otherwise, they will sit there the whole time asking. And the same for your child that's imaginative. Their mind goes all over the place because you'll be talking. Classic examples of a child, the teacher was teaching about the blue train. You know that blue train that used to go through South Africa and through the Cape. And they were talking about the speed. And the next thing, the kid's looking out the window like, and the teacher calls him back and says, you're being rude. He says, you know what? There's a bluebird out there, starling. Ma'am, how fast will the starling have to fly against the blue train to get to the Cape in time? I mean, that's like, you go, where did he kind of put that together? But that's what happens. And so ADD, what we say, is attention to dreams and discoveries. And ADHD, we say it's attention to dreams and humorous diversions. Because they're always making funny noises and they're doing silly things and you know what? That child's got a sense of humor. Recognize it. Recognize those things and recognize when they're sensitive to people, when they're supportive of people. That child will be oversensitive about things. If you shout or you raise your voice, help them to work through that. Does that help a bit, Andy?
Yeah. Amy, anything from your side? Question that you have?
So many. I think it's a really helpful starter. Do you have stuff like this on your website that we can go and learn some more, or what would be the best resource that because I think it's now, for me at least, I want to digest a little bit and then I'd like to do some more research. That's how my pudding brain works. So is there a way that we can find out more to dig a little deeper?
You can go to our website. I can post it, or Andy can post the website address. But I think, Andy, you can answer that. Would you like to answer? No. Oh.
Look, I think that there's two things. We could get Darleen back again. But I think if you are really keen on it, this is her business. So I also don't want to steal her. She came onto this thing saying, I'm going to help you. I want to help people. I mean, I've known Darleen for 25 years, and that is who Darleen is. She isn't in this thing to make money, but it is her business. And I sort of think maybe what we could do is if we are struggling with our children, contact Darleen. Her number is there on the private message her. Don't use the chat line. Private message Darleen. If you don't have her phone number, I'll give it to you, no problem. And see what it'll cost you to maybe have your child assessed, especially the one that's worrying you. So there's that option that you could go to Darleen for her business, which I think is a good thing. And I didn't get on, and that's not what her heart was at all. She said, I'm not going to do that for this at all. But I think it is something that we could do. We could say, okay, you could go there. I do think we could have her on again and say, okay, now instead of giving us, because that's what I wanted her to do, is give us those 5 things so that we know that okay, we can allow our children to tap a pen and kick around and lie on their tummy but it is a very, very vast subject that she's literally touched on. We could get her in the next couple of weeks or so just to say, okay, Darleen, tell us only about modalities. Just because that one, personality, we can go and search, we can go and look. The modality one is a little trickier because that's what teachers use. And the environment influences, I've never heard of environment influences before. The talent and interests, maybe I can find my way around, but maybe we could ask Darleen, instead of having any general chit-chat, we can say, okay, dig into modalities for us. Just tell us. So she's not going to be assessing your child, or she's not going to be doing all of that. I think it'll pique you to want to have your child assessed. I do think that. I know that if I had my child assessed in order to get a grip on his education. So I think we could, if we wanted to, and if Darleen is available. This lockdown's going to carry on for a long time. We've got lots and lots and lots and lots of things to talk about. But maybe you could post on the line or send to Amy or myself or Darleen privately questions that you'd like asked. Maybe we could get her back next week. This is such a fluid little group, because it's small. We can twist it and turn it and make it how you want to make it look. It doesn't have to look like this every week. But so that would be my suggestion, is to say, okay, what are we really keen on, and get Darleen back and say, okay, don't tell us about the whole package, because I said to her, just give us some hooks that we know how to hang our children onto, and give us guidelines, just, okay, he's a fiddler, he's a this, and instead of being frustrated with it, oh, that's his style of learning, that's his personality, or that's his modality. So I think that we could ask her to come back in again and just give us an in-depth look at one of those areas. So that's the two things. We could ask her to come back, and we could, but I'd need your feedback on that to say which one would interest you. I know which one would interest me, and I've told you it's my modalities, but that might be because I'm where I am and I'm just researching education at the moment. And the other thing is just to contact her privately and have one of your children, or have all your children assessed, and chat to her in depth. So that's what that's how I'm going to leave it, actually, at this point. Message on that. If you say, oh, modalities, I want to know about modalities, I want to know more about that, we can organize that. Otherwise, do it privately to me, Amy, even Darleen. I just don't want to flood her device with thousands of us. But ask your questions. I think if we start asking our questions, we could get back in. And Darleen, it's much easier to answer a question than it is to give this massive amount of information.
Oops, Andy froze.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
You're back.
Am I back again?
Yeah.
My connection, my internet connection is terribly unstable, and it has been for the last I don't know how long. So, yeah, so that's what we do. It's 45 minutes in. I think, Darleen, thank you so much. I think it's really been worthwhile. It was good to hear those things. It gives us something, like Amy says, to think about. So I'm far more curious. So whereas Amy will go back and she'll think about it. It's interesting to suddenly see ourselves as learners. And I've said this to you before, is we need to be lifelong learners. We need to be lifelong learners. How are we going to teach our children to be lifelong learners if we're not lifelong learners? So I think we can do this again. And we can do it with more, what's the word?
I think to pinpoint scratch where it itches, where people are feeling like that's the thing I need to know about.
Yeah. So message me. Put it on the schooling or put it on my private line. It's fine. I don't mind. I'm not overwhelmed with work right now. My uplifted team they have no children in their schools. So nobody is teaching anybody. I can't get to even see anybody. So I'm not really doing much at the moment. So I'm available.
They've been uplifted.
I'm eating biscuits, yeah.
No, they've been uplifted.
Huh?
They've been uplifted.
I know, but they know that at the moment they're going through such hell. Anyway, so two things. We're going to meet again next week. Let's do it, especially if you send questions in. The other thing is Jackie is on at 4 next week. She's speaking about respect or something in the home. She's really good. She's got 7 children. She's got them ranging in age from grade 1 to matric. She has chosen to homeschool, so she's gone through all the dramas that you're busy going through. She's gone through all of them. She can't talk specifically into your situation. Well, she can, but it's quite tricky to talk directly into where you find yourself working and stuff. But she is outstanding. Her home is outstanding. We've been in her home. She's got 7 very, very, very rambunctious kids. 5 of them are boys, 2 are girls. And it is a loud household. It's a busy household. She's also a public speaker. She is leading a church as well with her husband. So it's not like she doesn't know busy. So Monday at 4 o'clock, it's on Facebook. So you can comment like this, but you can't, there's no interaction. They can't see anybody's face. It's well worth the listen to. I'm trying to access, this is not the only forum there. I'm not trying to keep you to us. Seriously, there's a world out there with lots of info. So go and get it. Really, it's well worth it. Jackie's previous one on Monday was also great. Go and re-listen to it. It's still up on Facebook, so you can do that. So anything else, Amy?
I think maybe we should get Darleen just to pray for us. I think that'll be helpful. We've ticked off another week of staying at home. I got a message today from one of my friends saying, hey, how are you doing on day 50? And I went, oh my goodness, it's day 50? How did we get here? We never saw this coming. So, we've made it to day 50. We don't really know where we're going from here, but prayer always helps. So however you're feeling, if you're feeling like, yay, I can still go, or, oh my goodness, how am I going to face another week? I think if Darleen just prays for us and we can enter into the weekend on that note would be good.
Okay. Father, we just thank you so much for this time that we can be together as moms. And we've all got experiences somehow or other that we can help one another with. And you made us all moms. So we really want to, first of all, thank you for that. And thank you for the blessings that you've given us. Even if we sometimes struggle with our blessings, they are blessings. And Lord Jesus, we can either say 50 days, or we can go 50. This is like the year of Jubilee. It's the day of Jubilee. That we can actually enter into a time of Jubilee, of enjoying and being able to now settle down into helping our children and enjoying this time that we can have together. Like, Father God, we've heard so many times, and that Andy said before, is that, Jesus, when are we ever going to have this opportunity again? And so, Lord, we thank you for the privilege in the pain of what's going on around us. And we ask that you'd please give us strength, that this weekend would be a fun weekend with our kids, and that you would help us next week as we take our children to grow into not just only academically, but to grow into beautiful characters and personalities and people who you've made and the paths that you've got for them in their little lives. Use us as your instruments to direct them, Father. Just pray protection over each one here, Father, in Jesus' name. Amen.